Howdy folks, sorry for the delay. It's I decided I'd restart the entire system and then the software wouldn't work. Now it's working, hence the delay. So I hope you're all well and apologies for the delay. Really late start tonight. Let's say hello to people that have tuned in. We have got Dean McKee, Johnny McWhirter, and 6 other people watching with me. Andy, Barry Rogers is watching, Anita Jarvis, Francis Hagens, Gabby's watching, Torben Zucker Farris is watching, Matthias Andy Orgino is watching, Lorraine Butler says hello, Chris Withers says hello, Chris Williams says evening. Welcome to you all, thanks for watching. Copath Loss is watching, Barry Kinnear is watching, Jeffrey Abel's watching, Neil Harvey's watching, Tony Burns watching, Avirio Corona's watching, Shaw Thurlow's watching, William Macaulay, Andrea Bradley's watching, Gary Smith's watching. Thank you everybody for watching. And people are already saying hello. So, been a busy old week here. Busy old week. Finally, the loft is finished. And let me show you some photos. So we finally finished the loft on Saturday, and that's the final shot. We only got them done on Saturday afternoon, and it's got a few little bits to do. I still want to get the ventilation sorted. So at the moment the lofts are they're brick, well not brick, they're block built, and then one side of them we've got Avery that's open at the moment apart from really bad weather, and then the other side's got a really big opening to another Avery as well. So at the moment there's a lot of ventilation in there, but I'm aware that it's fine while all the Averys are open, but when they're not, I'm a little bit concerned about that. So I've got some big fans. I've got 2 fans, and my ideas with the fans is to have an input and an output, like an airflow. So a fan pulling new air in, and when the other fan pulling air out. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of doing. So if anybody's got any input on that, let me know. We've got people saying that the words are not matching up. There's a delay. So let's switch and see if I gotta sort this camera thing out. Let's see if this helps. Does this help? 1 second, folks. I promise you I will be sorted in a minute. These cameras are the bane of my life. Try and get multiple cameras, try and improve, and all it does is screw you up even more. So yeah, 1 second. Let's get rid of that. Right, let's see if this works. See if that's any better. Hopefully it is. Hopefully there's not the delay there. Let me check myself. Just 1 second, folks. See if that's any better. Hopefully. Big delays. Hopefully I think that's better. Let me know, folks. And apologies again. Subtitles. I don't know why there's subtitles on here. That's not something I've done. That might be Facebook doing that. Not sure. Maybe that's a new thing Facebook are doing. But subtitles is nothing to do with me, folks. So that may be something Facebook are testing out. So yeah, ventilation. That's kind of something I want to do next. I say I've got these two big fans. They're probably 20-inch fans, and they go one way. So you can have one pulling new air in and one pushing air out. And that's what I think I'm going to do for when the aviaries are closed up. Yeah, I'm going to kill this camera feed and see if that makes it any better. Camera moving slow now. And honestly, you try and improve stuff, and all it does is give you a bigger headache. We'll see. I'll see what I can do while I'm going. Is this cam better, or the first one? Let me know. If you want to see this camera, if you think this camera is better, put 1. If the other camera is better, put 2, please, and let me know, and we'll switch accordingly. How do these big companies, that's what I need to know, how do these TV shows now that they have like 5 guests on all the same time, and most of the time it works? Well, I did see this morning that all of the guest feeds cameras died, and there's only one person left. So Neil's saying this cam view's better, which makes sense because it's an inbuilt camera. So we'll go with this unless anybody says. Stephen says 2. Oh. Please. All right, let's have a vote. So two, I had a delay. Right. I'm going to stick with this one. This one is 1. And this one is 2. Ah, that's frozen now completely, so that rules that out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is a comedy show. Right, okay, so this camera is 2. And this camera is 1. Right. We got 1 is fine. See, trouble is I'm seeing you on a delay now, folks. Oh. Some are saying 1, some are saying 2. It's a comedy. I'm dying. 1, 2. I've got 2s and 1s coming in. 1, 1. Right, I'm going with 1. I'm sticking with this. That's it. Decision made. Yeah, so ventilation. Thank you for the feedback. Chris Withers is laughing at me. Feel like laughing as well. It's a comedy. I never knew this was a comedy of errors. But anyway, we're going with this. So thank you for the comments. Stick with this. I'm going to get this camera situation sorted out because the other camera view is better. In theory, the other camera should be a lot better than the inbuilt one. But anyway, I think it's to do with, I think actually I need an entire, I said this to Gabby, I think I just need an entire system just to run this show from that doesn't do anything else other than run the show. But that's something down the line that we'll look to do. So, anybody's got any tips on ventilation? I've seen the climate control, humidity controllers and all of that stuff. I'd be interested in what people's thoughts are on heating. Now, in the loft visits that I've done, I've seen heating in some lofts, you know, the flat panel heating. I'd be interested in people's thoughts on that. I know ventilation is obviously paramount of importance. Like I said, at the moment, essentially one side and the end of the loft is the camera's frozen now. What the F? This is terrible. Okay, we'll go with this camera. It's not frozen. I know the ventilation is the key, but like I said, on one side, I've got an aviary opening, and I've got essentially pretty much the entire end of the loft is open at the moment. So I know the pigeons are getting good quality air. It's a nice, fresh environment. It's essentially like having a big aviary on the end and one on the side. But when I close that up in bad weather, that's my worry, that won't be good enough, and that's why I want to get the ventilation. So any people's ideas? Terry, I know I owe you a message on Facebook. I've sorted it. I'm sorting it. I've already spoken, and it'll be arranged for Wednesday. Terry's just come in from the garden and watching. I want to give a shout out to Terry. Terry, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, messaged me, and he is giving Alexander, Zandy as we call him, 2 amazing young birds. 2 amazing young birds. Terry is gifting to Zandy, and blown away by his generosity in helping Zandy get going, and it's blown away. Thank you, Terry. It means a great deal, and I am sorting it. I have sorted it. It will be scheduled for this pickup for Wednesday. So yeah, where were we? So at the moment, that's where we've got. But as I say, I want opinions on it. I want to get opinions on it. So please let me know those opinions. A couple of other things. Let me show you a few more photos actually. Zandy got a couple of young birds. And this is him with one of them just playing around, and he loves. We essentially spent Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and some of Sunday on this. And we had a great time, and Saturday was a really good day, finishing that off, and we got a lot done. We worked hard, but it was really well worth it. And we even got Gabby, who said she'd never handle a pigeon. She wouldn't even feed them for me. I told her she would definitely feed them for me at some point. And we even got Gabby opening. We even got Gabby holding a young bird. So that was. I was very pleased about that. I was pleased that we managed to get her handling a pigeon. Oh, sort this bleeding camera out now. Yeah, so it's all. And I tell you what, already I sat there on Sunday after quite a long weekend. Like I said, we've had a few good days at it, and Zandy's got a couple of young birds in there, and and I just sat there I sat there in the loft, just watching the pigeons for like 15-20 minutes with a beer at the end of a long weekend. And I tell you, it's so nice already. I'm already feeling the benefits of having pigeons again. And it's something I've been looking forward to, because for me, it's, as I say, it's been a lot of hard work getting everything sorted. And we've still got loads to do, but the main stuff is done. And it was really good. It felt really good on Sunday to have a few birds again. Again, you know, we're nowhere near where we've got lots of stuff to do, and we haven't got many pigeons at all. But it felt really nice to sit where I had a beer, a Corona beer at that, and it felt really good, and it brought back a lot of memories from when I was a kid, when I used to spend hours with the pigeons, just with them, and yeah, it felt really good. It was really good. Let's catch up on some comments, and then we'll crack on. Let's catch up on. We've had quite a few comments. That's better. Tom Powers is watching. How you doing, Tom? Nice to catch up with you on Friday. Copeth Lofts, only let birds into aviaries. Only let birds in aviaries unless it's nice weather or for a bath. That's interesting. Simon Woolley, overcrowding causes the issues. When I used to show my lofts was all enclosed. When I used to show all my lofts was enclosed. Got you. What's people's opinion on the optimum? This is something that I've actually had a few new people message me and ask me about, and various other things they've asked me about at the same time. What's people's opinions watching on the square footage per pigeon? You know, for a stock loft and for a young bird loft. What's people's opinion on what that square footage should be? You know, i.e. a 10 by 8 or a 8 by 6 space. How many pigeons do you think should be in there for optimum? I've had various different people's opinions, but I'd like people's opinions who are watching this on that. Because again, I know I'm very aware that overcrowding is the biggest, one of the very biggest issues. Chris Withers says the loft is built out of concrete block. Yeah, it is. It's essentially a garage that's half been converted. It's a concrete block. Chris, yeah. And Dinny Kinsella's watching. Hope you're well, Dinny. Copeth Lofts, I have a few ready for you soon, mate. Thank you very much to Copeth. Again, another really nice offer to Zandy from Copeth Lofts of some babies. So really nice, very nice. Thank you. And for everybody that's asked, yeah, we're doing all right. Family's doing all right, thank you. A month or so on from all that rubbish, we're doing all right, moving forward, and got lots of things to do and planning lots of things. So yeah, all good, happy. And as I said, at the weekend, I felt more content with still having a lot to do. It's not like I can sit there and say, oh, it's all done now, great. But I felt more content Saturday and Sunday than I have in a long time. And the birds helped me feel like that. It's really good, really good. Really pleased. Martin Fuller's watching as well. How you doing, Martin? Susan Lamb as well. Darren Gray's watching. So yeah, give me your opinions on space required for birds. I'd appreciate your opinions. Copeth Lofts. So there's 3 sections in the loft. The first, and I know this sounds weird. I'm going to say something that sounds weird, but let me explain. So the first section is 12 by 4 with a very big aviary on it. The second section is 12 by 4, 9 by 4. And the third section, which is the going to be the stock loft with another big aviary on it, is 9 by what's that? 9 by 7 with a big Avery on it. So yeah, yeah, opinions. Thank you. Right, so moving on with a few other bits. The RPRA, as you probably know by now, on the 18th of May, put out the update. For those that you haven't seen it, I'm going to briefly go through it. Stage 1 of the government's coronavirus strategy allows outdoor sports and recreation. Therefore, the RPRA have been developing guidance to facilitate racing. This includes guidance for race marking, clock striking, convoying, and liberation sites. The race marking guidelines can be found separately. Clock striking will be based on the same principles as marking. The guidance will be published as soon as possible. The guidance will be sent directly to the convoy organisers. The race marking guidance will also be emailed out to club secretaries via the RPRA database. If all goes well, if in capital letters, all goes well, we'll be able to commence racing with effect from the 1st of June 2020. Which, if that happens, is a really great result. It gets things up and running, which is good. I'm not going to go through all the guidance and criteria, but at the end of the day, the fact that in theory, all being well, racing can start from the 1st of June is really a great thing. And to be honest, I didn't think it would start that soon. I thought it would be, July. People may have issues training and all of that stuff. But let's hope that situation sticks to it, and we see what happens. Because they put out something on the 16th, as well, about group training, which I won't go through all now, but let's hope it can get up and running. Now, if it does, let's see how clubs and feds will do their own thing and figure out what the program is, because will the whole program be put back? Will it become a shorter program? I don't know. I don't know what people's opinions are on that. I don't know if it's down to each individual club or fed to decide what their revised program is or what. I'm not sure. Chris O'Toole is watching. Simon Woolley's back. Rides Lofts. John Bollard Painter's watching. Thank you everybody for watching. So yeah, I don't know. Just cut down season. Delayed season. I would guess maybe a combination of a delayed, put back season a little bit, combined with maybe a cut back race program. Not sure how people are going to deal with it. Don't know. On others, we've got Romanian people is with you. Thank you very much. Watching from Romania. Won't be probably coming to Romania this year. Normally we would go in September, and May small chance go in October, but if not, it'll be next May. And whenever we go, because I say we, because Gabby will be going. Obviously, Gabby's from Romania, family in Bucharest, and. But whenever we go, Zandy will be coming, and hopefully I can get my eldest son to go out with us as well, which would be really good. But the reason I'm mentioning that now is that when we do know we're going, when it's safe to do so and all of that stuff, I will be arranging a visit, a group visit, to go and see what can only be described as amazing setup that Sorin Floria over in Bucharest, Romania, has got. It's a stunning place to visit. It's the collection of pigeons he's got is mind blowing. And people did experience an interest before this lockdown started in going to arrange a group visit to go to his lofts. So whenever if it does happen to be October is just about good weather. No, you start getting into November in Romania, it gets cold. October is not too bad. And then if it's not October, it'll be May. So either of them, really nice weather, nice times to go. Whenever it is, which I'll let people know more, we'll be doing a group. I'll arrange a group visit to go to Sorin Floria's loft. So if people are interested in that, then they can go. And getting over there is relatively cheap. You can fly on the Ryanair equivalent into Bucharest for less than 100 quid normally, and accommodation is plentiful in Bucharest, and it's a fascinating city to go and visit as well outside of Pigeons. But going to Sorin's lofts are it's an experience I think every pigeon flyer who is interested should go and see at some point, and we can arrange that, and that's what we'll be looking to do. In addition as well, depending on how things go, might try and get to visit a couple of other lofts. Down on the south of Romania is the coast. It's a great, lovely place in the Constanta area. And I went to visit the long-distance champion of Romania down there. He's got a very modest setup above his house. His lofts are above his house. And those pigeons fly over 900 miles from Estonia. And he's I think it's third year running he's been long distance champion. So I think it would be good to see those lofts as well. So we'll look to base it around and hopefully arrange to do that. So if anybody's interested, let me know. Michael Howard said no good for a club with mainly members over 70, and there are only 2 young members that can go to his club. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Michael. It's an issue. And our Romanian viewers saying Tartu in Estonia. That's exactly it. And it's the flyer in question I'm talking about is Giga Stanka. He's developed a team of extreme long distance pigeons flying for up to 1,500 kilometers. And weirdly, not weirdly, but interestingly, the base of his family come from a Bushart cock, actually a GB pigeon that kind of many years ago started his family off. And it's interesting how he's crafted it. And Giga Stanka's known in Romania throughout as a long distance ace. And yeah, it was a great. I loved it over there, actually. I loved it. And we also went to meet Gabi Radu, who's a sprint ace over there as well. And just very welcoming people. So, like I said, we'll try and do a visit to go and see Sorin's lofts and whole setup. It'll blow your mind. And then if people are interested, we'll perhaps arrange to visit a few other small lofts. I've got a great... I was really lucky to be able to go and view these lofts, and I had somebody organise it all for me. It was absolutely great, and we'll hopefully get them on board as well, and we'll see what we can do. But you know, Romania is a up and coming pigeon sport country. It's very big, very, very big indeed. So if you're interested, you know, let me know. It would be good. So yeah, right. What else have we got to talk about? It was really lovely. One of the reasons I was a few minutes delayed is that despite the technical issues, I had a call from a friend of mine, Justin Deary, and it was really lovely to speak to him. I spoke to him in ages, and he's doing all right. For those that you know Justin, any of you that do know Justin, he's doing all right. I just spoke to him literally half an hour before the show started. I have something else that that I want people's opinions on. That's right, Jigastank. Yeah, we've got some really good people that are Romanian view. I don't know what your name is, mate. Tell me what your name is so I don't keep saying our Romanian viewer on YouTube. Here's an opinion I want. And I can't. So let me give you the context. So there's a local flyer to me that let off a bird scarer rocket. It's kind of like a firework, but not a firework, from my understanding. But it's a bird scare, and it's designed to scare off birds that may attack your pigeons. It's not designed to harm them in any way. It is purely designed to scare them. Now, I have a starter pistol here, you know, a blank firer pistol, which is extremely loud. Now, I haven't used it here, and the last time I used it was when I was living in the middle of nowhere with open fields. But I have the starter pistol here. It fires blanks, and it's extremely loud. And that will be used to scare off any birds of prey that will be attacking our pigeons flying out. Now, I will tell our neighbours what it is so they don't get worried, because essentially it is like a gun firing. And I'm not sure if I used it too much. I wouldn't use it too much anyway. The most I've ever used it is twice in a day, and occasionally I fire 2 shots of it. But I would hope that neighbours that now we have would understand it only is used when needed. But I would use it, and I would have no issues in doing so to scare birds of prey or whatever else off. I in the past even used it when a cat wouldn't go away. So this local flyer to me has been using this bird scarer rocket thing, and he's had numerous complaints from people around him. And then a few days ago, he had the police knock on his door for using this thing. And I don't know any much more details. I've got to speak to him more. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're using that safely, you're not firing it at anybody or anything like that, and you're doing it to scare pigeons, to protect your pigeons and scare away animals or birds that might be attacking your pigeons, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's not like he's doing it, 20 times a day, but he's had complaints which led to police force from Matlock. Now, we're in the Derbyshire-Leicestershire border. He's had police all the way from Matlock coming to see him. And I don't get it. I don't get it. Based on what I know, I don't get why that would be a problem. As far as I'm concerned, like I said, I will use this blank fire if I see anything attacking our stock, or even potentially the ability. Because all you're doing is scaring it away. You're not harming it. You're scaring it away. I don't get it. If anybody else has heard of issues like this, please let me know. But I don't get it. If you're scaring birds away and you're not harming them in any way, what is the issue? And why would the police get involved? Maybe they're trying to get him on a noise abatement issue, or the noise of it. I'm not sure. But something doesn't sound right to me. It sounds weird, and I don't get it at all. Our remaining view, tell me your name, Hillboy. I live in the Derbyshire-Leicestershire border. The closest city is Derby to where we live. You lived in the UK for 3 years. Cool. Whereabouts in Romania do you live? Let me know. So yeah, I don't get it. A bird scarer as long as it's not harming people, I don't get what the issue would be. If anybody else ever had problems with this, I'm going to do whatever I can to try and help him out about the situation, but it's something I've not heard of before. Like I said, when I start using our blank firing gun, if need be, which I'm sure there will be a need at some point to use it, I will speak to neighbours, you know, a couple of doors either side, and tell them what it is so that they're not worried, and then I hope they would be all right about that. Not like I'm going to be, you know, firing the thing every hour or anything, hopefully. Yeah, so Mickey Brown says, any disturbance of the peace will get you jumped on. Given current lockdown, nearly everyone is home and in gardens. Might be best to find an alternative for now. Fair point, Mickey. But again, apart from a loud noise to scare away birds of prey, what else can you do? I'm not sure what the alternatives are. Don't know. Weird. It seems like, to me, it seems like the police go for easy pickings. They don't want to put in the effort into something that actually require work. They'll just go for easy pickings. And I just think it's wrong. And so I hope you don't mind me saying your name. You said you're open to ideas publicly. So Neil is the person I'm talking about. So any ideas you've got to help Neil out, let me know. I think it's a noise issue. If you have sensory issues like autistic people suffer from, also pets have issues with noise like fireworks. Fair point, Diane. Fair point. Yeah, it is a fair point. Pets, fireworks. Fortunately, none of the dogs we've got now are affected by fireworks, but the dog like Bella I had up until last year, she didn't like fireworks very much. So it is a fair point. But again, what else can we do? You know, if you see something threatening your stock, what are you supposed to do? How are you doing, George? George, you live near Bucharest. I've been to Bucharest a few times now. That's where my partner Gabby's from. And it's nice to speak to you. George, if we're not friends on Facebook, add me on Facebook. That would be a pleasure. Talking of Facebook, I have well over 4,000 friends now. I got 5,000 limit. Like I keep saying, if you want to add me on Facebook, you can. Facebook.com/Marky, MARKY, Lyford. If you just put in Mark Lyford, you'll get my page, which is nothing really to do with pigeons. But if you want to add me, you're welcome to. Stephen O'Brien, a few large plastic garden owls, move them around the garden each week and they don't become used to them. Yeah, that's funny because 2 days ago I was looking at them. They actually have plastic owls now that's heads move with the wind movement, which I thought was a really good idea. I'm going to be getting a couple of them. But like Stephen said, move them around so they don't get used to them. We got some old DVD, CDs that we're using as well in the garden, which hopefully will help. Every little helps. But yeah, them plastic owls with the moving heads. Oh, Neil's got them already, so that obviously doesn't work that well for Neil. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because despite what people have said in the past, you know, now I'm actually going to be keeping them. I've always been aware of the bird of prey issue and the concerns around it, but you know, I even said to Zandy last week, I said, you know, I would still consider getting an eagle owl myself personally. Like, I had a lot of stick about, you know, the Eagle Owl project last year. Like I said before, I was only ever helping to promote it, but it was a complex thing, and some people had the whole wrong end of the stick with what we were trying to do, and Johnny McWhirter and I decided just leave it, which is a shame, but like I said, I was only ever there really to promote it, and people seem to think it was mine. But if an eagle owl present in the garden would protect our stock flying out, I would consider getting one. I would, because the last thing I want Zandy to experience is getting hit. Some of his birds that he'll be loved, and as everybody, you know, it's not just because it's my son. I'm putting it in the context of Zandy, but it's the same for everybody. The last thing I would want him to experience is birds that he's cared for and reared from babies being attacked by birds of prey as they're flying around. I don't want him to. I want to minimize. I've told him it's an issue. He knows it's an issue, but I want to minimize that as much as possible. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I can't read that comment out that has just been put up, but if people are watching it, they'll see the comment. Seagull hate mate. What do you mean, Michael? Let me know. I don't know many of you get the British Home and World. Sure, a lot of you do. But I put a little letter to the editor in there. I put a letter to the editor about the Myler pigeons. And then I also put a little advert in, so if somebody doesn't read the letters to the letters to the editors, but do read the adverts, or vice versa, I put a letter to the editor in there last week, and I put a little advert in there saying Myler pigeons wanted. I had 5 phone calls on Friday, and it went really well. And I actually managed to speak to the secretary of the Short Distance Union, Eric, who's like the godfather of Myler racing in the UK. I spoke to a few other people. Eric's going to put me in another touch with people that have got Mylers. And I tell you what, the more I speak to these people, the more I am determined to try and help revive this sport. Like I've said before, for the last few weeks, for a few reasons. One, I think, you know, when you speak to Eric, you get inspired by the Myler racing that happens. You know, it was massive back in the day, you know, massive. You know, they were pooling their birds £400 or £500 a week on a Sunday morning. Really interesting. The more I hear about it, the more fascinated and keen I am. I think it deserves to be revived. That's the first thing. The second thing is I think it's a great way of getting new people interested from a time perspective. It's a great spectator sport. The pigeon's just been released. A minute or so later, the pigeon is back. That is the closest equivalent to horse racing you can get in this pigeon sport. And yeah. And the third thing, I think it's a great way of helping is, like I've said before, I've covered various one-off races, and I think, like I said last week, the biggest thing is with the one-off races is you can, let's say from a coverage point of view, you can be covering the race and then you can be waiting. You got 2-3 hours. Sometimes you get caught out. Sometimes the pigeons arrive back before you think they're going to do, like happened to me in Portugal. I was chatting online live with someone and the first pigeon arrived. So you get caught out sometimes, but at the same time, you can be waiting for hours. And that's an issue, like to be able to take this sport mainstream and one day get it properly televised. What are you going to do for them hours while you're waiting? There's only so much of audience participation you can do. There's only so much stats or facts you can read out. And with the Myler stuff, problem solved. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Myler races in between, just like horse racing. They'll have various races before the big one of the day. Problem solved. That's the way you can get it televised. You put Myler racing on. So there's various reasons I think it's a good thing. And I'm hoping over the next few weeks or months to get hold of some of these Myler pigeons, breed some myself, and then I will be only too glad to then, if we can get enough of the Mylers, we can then start distributing. I say we, James from Tom Lee Studloffs is, wanting to help revive it. It was very much James's lead on the whole thing. But between us, then we can start distributing miler young birds to people that want to start. And it's a very different type of pigeon, but it's fascinating. So yeah, the homing world thing I put out last week went really, really well. 5 people, and managed to finally find the person that runs the short distance union, and they're still producing rings, SDU rings, every year for their, albeit limited members they've got. They're still producing it, and so yeah, all good. Really pleased with the feedback I got from that little bit of Homing World advert and letters to the editor. William says, fancy to spray their birds different colours, apparently to deter predators' attacks. And yeah, interesting. Ian Gill is watching. The sage that is Ian Gill. Put the parrot outside and it will annoy them anyway. What else have we got? What else have we got? Gary Smith says, in China, dare I say the word, Gary, they put bells on their birds. Apparently this deters attacks. Interesting. Ian Gill says, Steve Foster and I talked about this on Pigeon Chat a few years back. You're always ahead of me, Ian Gill, always. But I catch up eventually. And I think, I definitely think there's something in the miler thing, which is why I keep banging on about it. If you're interested in getting involved in the miler thing that James has set up, he set up a Facebook group, facebook.com/group/miler pigeon racing. You can go and join. It's a small group of people interested in the miler stuff. Interestingly, when I spoken to my friend Justin earlier on, he said, how's the miler thing going? I said, I'm blown away by it. I didn't think I'd get that much response. I get maybe 1 or 2, but I had 5 people call on Friday. And yeah, really good. So always round, all being well, racing's going to start 1st of June. And things hopefully will start getting some resemblance of normal anyway for the sport. But like I've said over the last few weeks, something radical needs to happen. Since when we got Richard Chambers on, which is a month ago, the numbers speak for themselves. And with this miler thing, a lot of people poo-poo the miler idea. That's not proper pigeon racing. And, well, who defines what proper pigeon racing is? And, excuse me a second. If getting miler racing going again can help reinvigorate, get members of the public interested. The great thing about it, like I said, is this whole process is over and done in an hour. They used to do it on a Sunday morning. The whole family can be there watching them come in to the paddock, as they call it. So can you imagine that on a bigger scale? You can have members of the public come in and watch this, and they're not sitting around with nothing to do for hours. You know when the pigeon's been released. Now, how they do it traditionally is they single release a pigeon, and it's timed, and they release however many pigeons, they're all timed, and the fastest pigeon wins. There's various things you could do to perhaps change it. They used to do it to where the pigeon comes back into the circle. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case moving forward. It could, obviously with ETS, you could have it on a big screen. Joe Bloggs' pigeons timed in at whatever seconds. With a little tweak to the ETS systems, you could still do the single bird releases to calculate the exact time of flight. There's all kinds of things that can be done. But the big thing is it's over and done with. So people waiting at the loft watching know a minute ago the pigeon, or 20 seconds ago the pigeon was released. Now, how can you get that close to horse racing? The entire release of the pigeon is obviously live streamed and broadcast back to the people waiting at the lofts. That's the closest you're ever going to get to being able to televise this sport. And TV companies and production companies that's something I feel that a case could be put forward to. This should be taken seriously as a sport. Because the thing's over and done with them in like 10 minutes. If you had 10 pigeons flying, roughly 10 minutes, done. And with some tweaks and being able to get the liberation live streamed to the people at the loft watching it, you bring in live tracking to that, to where people on a big screen can see where the pigeon is and coming in. Imagine how enthralling that could be to members of the public. There's your answer. You combine that then with bigger races, like one-off races. That's something you can feel, I feel confident that could be eventually take this sport mainstream. And that's what this sport needs. It needs mainstream. Because that's where you're going to get the thousands, the tens of thousands of people interested in this sport. Because like I've said before, you're not going to get, in the numbers we need, I'm not saying you're not going to get people, because you are, but you're not going to get in the numbers we need, people to start easily in the tens of thousands we need long term. And when I say long term, something radical needs to happen in the next 3 to 5 years, not 10 years, not 20 years. You're not going to get the numbers of people to be able to keep pigeons in their own backyard, race them, train them, and look after them on the numbers we need. With this, you could have people owning a pigeon in the loft, the mile loft. You could have people betting on it. You could have people running their own. All kinds of combinations. Let's see some comments. Let's see some comments. Ian Holder says he has a flashing beacon and reflection tape in nearby the tree, and this is what is your opinion on having a crow as a pet? Just a thought. Interesting, Ian. I used to have a baby crow when I was a kid, and I used to let it out of its cage, and it used to hop around, fly around a bit, come back, and that lasted about 5 weeks, and then it left. Can you do that with crows? Interesting. Don't know. But the flashing beacon and reflective tape is also something I've looked at online, and I'll be introducing to our back garden as well. Michael Howard says, seagulls hate them. My friend had one. Eagle owls, mate. Interesting. Alan, our Romanian friend, I'm waiting for you in Romania. Maybe you will make some videos of Ashmarandi Florentin champion in Tartu, Estonia. 1,500 kilometers. I would love to do that. I would love to do that. Like I said before, I'm up for covering and featuring and making videos and live streams of anybody. Not just the big boys. You know, as I said, I want to take people over to experience our own Florida setup, but equally I am thrilled to go and show them the long distance champion I went to see last year, Giga Stanka, with his loft that is a proper loft above his house, which is amazing. Who else have we got talking? Ian Gill says the way to incorporate and use milers to encourage and promote pigeon racing is to use them as actual horse racing tracks. A mile race between each horse race, enabling betting on it and believable TV coverage and promotion. A mile race between each horse race. Yeah, entering it into horse races. Interesting. In between the actual horse races. Interesting idea. And they have the distance to accommodate these races. You could have a drone filming it. You could. You could have a drone filming it. You wouldn't probably be able to get a drone filming every single pigeon, but if they were released together, you could. Like I said, traditional miler racing is single release pigeons, but I don't see any reason why an alternative, not change, but an alternative race could be a group race, let's call it. So you could have single races of single birds and a group race where, in a traditional sense, it's a mile over, it's a race over a mile as a group. But interesting ideas. But yeah, the drone idea, easy. I've got my drones license. I actually passed my drones license, so I can operate my drone legally. Ian Gill said, I suggested this over 15 years ago and people laughed at me. Well, we're used to people laughing at us, Ian. William Macaulay says, do you train them from a mile each direction to learn them to home in? Yes, you do. My understanding of it, which is limited still at the moment, but my understanding, Gary, is... William asked this question. My understanding is that at the end of every race, they will then decide their next race. And it's a mile in all directions. And like I said, these miler clubs that used to be around, they raced 52 weeks a year. Every weekend. Which is great. No season for these milers. What else have we got? Gary Smith, because don't work, had one now in the bed along with the pigeon. Apparently, crows really work really well. Beacons don't work. Did you mean, Gary? Beacons don't work. Had one now in the bin along with the pigeon. Apparently, crows work really well if you can get them to roost. Interesting. Kevin Glover is watching. Kevin, welcome. I haven't seen Kevin in 4 years, and I saw him on Saturday. And that pigeon, which I'll show you again for those of you who didn't see it. Let's get this one. The pigeon that I showed people earlier, which I'll show again, was a lovely little Kirkpatrick young bird that Zandy's took a really big shine to. And that was a Kirkpatrick from Kevin Glover, who's just tuned in to watch. One of the reasons on Saturday that my day was so good, and even Gabby and Zandy said they haven't seen me so happy in a long time, was that I got some Kirkpatricks from Kevin Glover. Spencroft Lofts, who's got probably the best old Kirkpatrick strains you can get. And don't be put off by his prices, by the way. Just because he charges very, very reasonable prices. Those are some of the oldest pigeons around of the Kirkpatrick breed. He's got the from the Furs Lofts. He's got the old Llewellyn lines, and the pedigrees that he's got have got original John Kirkpatrick rings on them. So I first kept my very first pigeons I ever kept at the age of 12 years old were Kirkpatricks. I can still remember my favourite cockbird there. He was a white grizzle, big boy he was, and it was great to be able to see Zandy with a few Kirkpatrick babies. It was really good. So thank you for watching, Kevin. William Macaulay, I'd be interested in a pair of milers, but I don't think anyone has them over here, lad. William, if the plans go well, based on what I'm trying to do, we, together with James Crofts and we will be able to get miler pigeons out. Not necessarily this year, but certainly next. That's what we want to aim to do. And like I said, I'm hoping to get some, and I will be then be able to supply people with young birds. That's the plan between James and I. That's what we're looking to do, because we want to revive the sport. Again, want to stick to the old traditional roots. I've already said publicly that. So, for those of you who heard me talk about paddocks before, how they used to do it, apologies, but for those of you who haven't, if you see any of the old photos, they used to have small lofts, really small lofts, like literally 4x4, 6x4 lofts in a circle or a square, and that was called the paddock. Now, obviously, back then there was a lot of allotments and there was a lot more land around. A lot of these paddocks used to be at the back of pubs. Well, pubs don't really have land as such at the back these days. So there's a few changes that need to happen. I'm not sure the paddock concept would work unless you could find somebody privately with land to run it. But then you got the issue of many people going there and what have you. I think that it might slightly have to change, but the concept's still there, and it could potentially be like when I spoke to Eric, I said about it being them flying into one loft but multiple people. Like he said, but then you're not caring for your own pigeon and condition it how you want. There's ways of conditioning these mice. So there's a few things to think about, but whilst in the spirit of keeping the traditional miler racing as close as possible to the revival of it, there are now things, like I said, you could have group races where all 10 or 12 or whatever birds go up. Everybody used to race a single pigeon, and as I say, back then they used to release singly and time the bird in a single release. You could do that still. You could have group races using ETS, be dead easy. But yeah, so interesting. But yeah, William, keep in touch on it. I'll keep you posted on what's going on. Fran Dempsey's just joined us. Thank you, Fran, for catching the tail end. A few other things. The Namibia clocks. I still struggle to say Namibia. Don't know why. Looking for 5 clocks still to send over to 5 people over in Namibia that want to set up their own little club over there with 5 people. If anybody's got any old clocks knocking around, let me know. I want to get a shipment together of 5 clocks to send over to them. What else have we got to talk about? I haven't put the poll out about Racing Pigeon Network yet. I will this week. Haven't done it yet. Been busy with this stuff. Remember, Richard Chambers is still running his Flying Back to Pigeons initiative. I haven't spoke to Richard in a few weeks, but I will find out what the latest is on that. In fact, I gotta write that down also. I live and breathe by my to-do list, but I'll find out from him that. But if you're a member of a club and you want to get involved in the Flying Back to Pigeons, spending a homing world every single week, I think it's a great initiative. It's targeting adults to get back into the sport, and again, it's anything to get back in. And a few people talking to me about the private club idea. That's been interesting. We'll talk about that another time again. Walkers Transport have kicked off now. They're backward and forward between Ireland. I've got a pigeon here that's going out to Ireland from way back from the German auction that we did, the Rolf Schomer auction. Finally going over to Ireland at the end of the month. So that's good that that's kicking in. And then all being well, at the end of the month, normal service at Walkers will be resumed, so continental pigeons can start going backward and forward, which is, again, it's happening, it's progress, it's starting at least. So yeah, it's about an hour in, folks. Thank you for everybody watching. I've still kept up the picture of Zandy. I forgot to take it down. Yeah. 1st of June, all being well. Let's hope that happens with racing, and I can actually start reading some results out on this show. What else have I got to tell you about? If you haven't yet joined our club, RPI Club, the group online on Facebook, go to the Racing Pigeon International group facebook.com/groups/Racing Pigeon International. We are very close to hitting 8,000 members. Very close. I am going to be, over the next 6 months or so, making changes to this show. We're going to have little advert segments. So I'm going to be opening up a little advert, like literally a 1.5-minute advert, probably twice throughout, to give me a quick break in between, more like a TV show, but literally for a minute or so. We're going to be doing a sponsorship. We're going to have the show sponsored by various places. And I'm going to open it up to become more of a show. And the reason I'm doing these things is to make the show better. Like, listen, first 15-20 minutes was a nightmare today with cameras and issues and stuff. My goal long term is to make it as close to a TV show as you can get, because ultimately I can see this sport going forward. And with the things we've been talking about tonight, there is one day every chance that we can get this great sport televised. Imagine that. Imagine getting it like horse racing or greyhound racing. That's what has got to happen long term. But it's finding that combination and that key. And it's looking for the right combination of how you can get that to become a reality one day. Kyle Douglas has got the grizzles that I promised your lad last night, laid last night. Thank you very much. So get in touch, mate. I will get in touch with you, Kyle. Thank you, mate. I will. I've got to catch up on my Facebook again. I'm sorry, folks. William McCauley, good luck on your pigeon success, mate. I have to go now. Thank you, William, for watching. Very much appreciated to everybody. And thank you to everybody that shared the show. I will be back next week at 8 o'clock, Monday, here on Facebook and YouTube. Interestingly, we've got a lot more people now watching on YouTube. So thank you, because it used to be predominantly Facebook. We've got a lot more people watching on YouTube. So thank you. I'll just check if there's any comments I missed. Don't think I've missed any more comments, so thank you to everybody that has commented this week. So I'll be back 8 o'clock next Monday, and I am going to plan to do a few more lives, but I've been busy with business, work, and getting that stuff out there sorted out as well. Yeah, and I'm going to talk more about the idea of the starter book next week. Hoping to get Neil Davidson on as well to talk about the auction that happened with everybody's great support for his son Charlie, who's doing all right at the moment. He's doing well, so thank you. Any comments after the show, let me know. Please place a comment. I do read the comments the day after. You can watch the replay of the show if you haven't caught of it all on YouTube. I post a link tomorrow morning to the replay on YouTube. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go and join the group if you haven't already done so. Wow. Just as I'm wrapping up the show, Mike Acosta joins. Mike, this is the weirdest, most surreal thing. Mike, you're watching. I was only thinking of you, Mike, 3 or 4 days ago as I was setting up the nest boxes in the stock loft, and I thought of you. For those of you, nobody will know who Mike Acosta is. Mike Acosta lives on Grand Bahama Island in the Bahamas, where I used to live many years ago. And I got to know Mike, but I didn't get to know him via pigeons. A mutual friend of ours at the time introduced us, and I used to stay with Mike when I used to go over there, and his lovely wife Anne. They used to run a B&B. I don't know if you still run it. And they were on the island that last year got pelted by the horrible hurricane that came through, and a third of the island got decimated. But Mike used to keep racing pigeons on the island of Grand Bahama. And I used to love staying with him because in addition to the swimming pool they had in their back garden and the lovely room we used to stay in, right at the back he had a few small lofts keeping pigeons in the Bahamas. And just as I'm getting ready to tie up the show, Mike Acosta, who I haven't spoken to for years, or his wife Anne, joins the show. And that is very... I love it that you've joined, Mike. So thank you for watching. We do this show every 8 o'clock, which is 3 o'clock in the afternoon your time, every Monday. And I'd love to be in touch. I will make contact with you on Facebook. But it was so funny for me thinking of you a few days ago, and now you've joined. That's very weird, and I can't wait one day to get back to Freeport to see you both and get back over to the Bahamas at some point. Thanks, Mike, for watching. That's put a smile on my face, and I will message you on Anne and see how you are. And thank you, everybody, for watching. I will catch you next week here on Facebook, YouTube, and on RPILive.com as well. You can watch. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a good night. Stay safe. Stick with the lockdown. We will get through this, and all being well, racing will start on the 1st of June. Catch you soon, folks.